We are living in a very satanic system and world right now. And right now it is easier than ever to fall into the trap of the enemy. And unfortunately, I'm seeing some very good-hearted people fall right into this trap, and it's keeping them very far from God. Right now it seems like every single week we are not given an air to breathe on some big current event happening, whether that is something across the world with wars or rumors of wars, whether that is something, here at home with something going on with politics, or a comet coming in from, outer space that we need to keep our eye on, or, a man-made disaster or storm. It seems like every single week we are given something to stay absolutely laser focused on. And as soon as we start, losing interest on that, the next big one comes. And this is very, very intentionally designed this way. I think a lot of people just think that, this is just, the year we're living in. It's just a crazy year. But the reality is, guys, is Satan and the fallen angels, they've been at this for thousands of years. And keep in mind, they were fallen angels. They have an intellect. They know what they're doing with this. And they have been intentionally designing the system this way to entrap as many people and souls as possible and keep people from God. So this doesn't just mean keeping, non-believers, people that aren't focused on seeking God. It's also meant to distract people actually seeking after God and keep them from God as much as possible. And right now, a big tactic, and what that is pure just distraction. We are right now so focused on staying up to date with all the current news, and whether that's on mainstream news or whether that's on social media. Everybody wants to feel like they have a handle of what's going on, when so much of this anyway is completely out of our control. Like, even if we knew the puppet masters and who was controlling everything, a lot of this is, out of our control anyway. It doesn't matter whether we know what's going on or not with a lot of this stuff. But the reality is by constantly keeping us distracted and focused on the next thing that we need to worry about, is causing people to be confused, lost, and angry. And with this, when you are distracted and you're confused, you're lost and angry, it is very, very, very hard to be empathetic. And with it, when you're distracted, you're absolutely not seeking after God. And this is something that is trapping so many people right now. And you have to stay very, very vigilant on not letting this take away from what Christ has called us. Christ's two greatest commandments, what he called us all to, is to love your Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love others as yourself. And right now, the constant distractions, all the big moves that we feel are big moves being made every single week, all of this is, whether it's intentional or not, all of this is very easily keeping people very distracted. I've talked about it in other videos, but, you have mainstream media on one side, which, so many people now agree that that is not good, not a good place to get information. And then you have, social media, and you have private sites and forums. But even with that, the algorithms now have gotten so tight that they know how to keep you hooked. And, you could say, that this has just been, just a way that modern information and technology has progressed, that, that's why algorithms are this way, or, that it's the powers that be. But there is very much a spiritual element to all of this. And, spiritually, this is keeping us very distracted. So we need to be vigilant on guarding ourselves against this. So with this, we need to look at the holiest people, throughout history. So let's take, the monastics deeply seeking after God. Let's take the people that literally wanted to devote their entire lives to seeking after God and actually achieved holiness through it. So we could take, the desert ascetics, people who moved to the desert. We could take hermits, people who moved to caves, pilgrims, basically people that pulled themselves out of society to have a sole focus of seeking after God. And with that, they focused after or sought after God with, prayer and fasting. And then, of course, almsgiving and helping others. But a lot of them completely removed themselves from society, completely try to remove themselves from even being around other people and have complete silence. That way they could focus after God or seek after God. The reality is we're living in the world. This is not something that most of us are called to, and it's not something that's realistic for most of us. But at the same time, we still are called to the same commandments that these holy people were called to. In us living in the world, we can still absolutely have an element of this. And just like they had vigilance and literally striving and struggling for God. The little amount of food they ate with their fasting, the literal all day and all night prayers, vigils. We can have that level of vigilance as people living in the world. And with this, that's going to dictate on how we move about the world and if we let ourselves be distracted from God. Point number one here is with social media or with the news. It's one thing to keep a loose ear to the ground, to just have a general idea of what's going on. If you want to use the excuse of you're protecting your family or whatever, that's one thing, but you have to be even cautious with doing that. There is a peace that comes when you completely pull away from having to stay up to date with any of this. But if you're going to stay even a little bit up to date and keep just a loose ear to the ground, keep it there. Don't let yourself get hooked into the algorithms. Don't let yourself get hooked onto the news and just constantly be watching this stuff, because that right there, not only is it keeping you distracted, it's keeping you confused, it's keeping some of you angry from your fellow man, but that time that you're also spending, with all of that could be time of you actually seeking God. It could be time of you actually spending time in prayer. Why should we be focused so much on all these constant distractions? That's what they are. They're distractions. Why should we be focused on that when we should be spending that time seeking God? Whether that is prayer, that should be the first thing, whether that is prayer and fasting, whether that is reading scripture, whether that is reading a spiritually edifying book like Lives of the Saints or reading lives of holy people. We need to be protecting ourselves. So first off, very much protect yourself from social media. I've talked in other videos about potentially removing yourself completely from social media. I know several of y'all have already pulled yourself away from all the short form social media sites, and some of y'all are only here on YouTube. That's definitely moving in the right direction. But whatever you feel is right for you, just know that everything is intentionally designed to keep you distracted and away from God. So be very vigilant on not letting yourself be hooked to social media. Number two, we're called to love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. To do this is something we have to seek after. This is not a passive thing. It's not passively, we're just going to raise our hand one day and say we believe in Jesus Christ and now we love the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. It doesn't work like that. It's just like if you have a spouse or someone you are madly in love with and you love with all of you. Frankly, we're called to love the Lord our God even more than our spouse. But just take this for example. Are you truly showing that by how much you're seeking after God? If we are truly loving the Lord our God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength, then we would want to be in prayer. We would want to be spending time with God more so than us scrolling social media and being hooked to the current events or staying so focused on, getting riled up because we don't agree with something politically. A lot of this is so much just intentionally trying to fire people up, and it's keeping them distracted from God. So we need to spend the time in prayer. If you feel yourself just like start scrolling away, or you feel yourself getting riled up because something politically happened, something in the economy happened, something worldwide happened with wars, and you feel yourself getting riled up and now you're getting distracted, bring yourself back down to prayer. Put the name Jesus Christ on your lips and take yourself to prayer. Number three, with it, this Christ's second greatest commandment is to love others as yourself. With all of this, there's so much that happens that whether it's wars across the world, whether it's here back at home, a lot of this is meant to divide, and it's working. The reality is people are losing empathy right now, and you can see it with how people talk to each other in comments. You can see with how people are getting riled up now on the streets. The reality is people are losing their empathy, and they are going completely opposite from what Christ has called us. To love others as yourself. This is a big task here. And first off, when you seek to love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength, and you actually start growing in your love for God, you're automatically going to have a love for others come out of that. So that's where, the first thing, if you just focus on that first commandment, everything kind of falls in place. But we need to be intentionally seeking to love others, even if it's someone we don't agree with. The reality is Christ was around sinners, he was around people he didn't agree with, and he still treated them with love and compassion and empathy. And right now you're going to be given many opportunities to, whether it be online, whether it be someone you just see online, whether it be someone you see in person, you're going to be around people that don't agree with you and you don't agree with them. And with that, you need to aim to love them as yourself. So let's all strive to be vigilant on fighting against the constant distractions. This is a satanic system. It's been very intentionally designed this way, so we need to be vigilant on protecting ourselves from this. With all of it, like I say in pretty much every video, let's aim to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and love others as ourselves. And everything else will fall in place. We will have a peace. There's so much of a peace that comes from pulling yourself away from what the world has put in place and designed, and just keeping our eyes focused on Christ. If we just keep our eyes focused on Christ, there's so much of a peace that abounds from that. So let's all stay vigilant on that. If you guys have any comments, questions down below, let me know. I hope this encouraged some of y'all. Be happy. All glory to God. God bless you. Have a great rest of your day.